I'm about to play a session and tell my opponents my exact strategy on every single street. Now, most players think this is insane. You can't do that. They'll exploit you. They'll adjust. You'll get destroyed. Cool, let's test it. I've made 7 figures in poker and coached hundreds of students to crush these games. But just to be clear, we don't make income guarantees. If you think you're gonna make 7 figures just from watching a YouTube video, you might be delusional. But here's what I've learned that most players haven't. Your opponents aren't adjusting. They're not exploiting you. And even if they try, they're probably doing it wrong. So I'm sitting down and announcing every move before I act. I'm not gonna tell them what my 2 cards are, but I'm gonna tell them my exact strategy with my entire range. If I'm wrong and they actually exploit me, I'm about to lose a lot of money on camera. But if I'm right, you're about to learn why you should stop playing defense and start exploiting the pants off your opponents, because even if you tell them your exact strategy, they still won't be able to adjust.
All right, let's jump into the hands and see how it goes.
Guys, I'm not even gonna look. I'm just gonna raise.
I got a piece of shit and I'm gonna call you just because you said so.
I'm just opening every hand on the button. I'm literally opening every hand.
I'm gonna check.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look right now.
Here's the thing, guys, already not exploiting us. If we just tell them we're not even looking and we're opening and they're still calling in the big blind. The response here from the blind should just be to 3-bet a metric shit ton, especially from the big blind closing the action here. If we're just opening blind, they should be 3-betting a ton. I mean, we're telling them our strategy. They are not exploiting us so far.
Every hand that I opened, I'm just gonna be betting for a small size here. My good hands, my bad hands, everything in between. Oh, okay. All right.
9-3. I would have hit my 3.
We're gonna c-bet here for half pot on the flop, and we literally tell the big blind that we're c-betting any 2 here after telling him that we were opening any 2, and we just see an instant check fold. Again, the exploit here should be to check raise the pants off of us, but so far, not really getting exploited.
Oh, you flopped it. Oh, but he flopped 2 pair, right? He flopped like queens and... He had queens and kings.
He got it on the river.
You rivered 2 pair and he flopped it?
He flopped a king, 6.
Yeah.
6.
But he had ace, yeah, he had ace queen.
Queen didn't come till the river.
Oh, so he flopped 2 pair and you rivered 2 pair.
He never had a pair until the river.
Yeah.
He didn't have a pair?
No.
No, he had 2 pair.
No pair. Well, except the, are you counting the one on the board?
Yeah, 2 pair, 2 pair.
He had 1 pair. If you're counting the board, he had a pair.
Oh, river, he got counterfeit. I'm only gonna be raised, no, I'm gonna raise quite a bit here after a cutoff limp. I'll make it 45.
Next one here, gonna open Queen Jack of diamonds to 45 after the cutoff limps. We're gonna go heads up to a flop, ace 7 5.
All right, I'm gonna tell you every single hand I have here, my good hands, my bad hands, my best hands, I'm gonna be checking. Every single hand, check.
Turn now an 8 of clubs, bringing a backdoor flush draw. I think if this player did check back an ace on the flop, we're certainly gonna hear from them now if we check once again. And the best way to maximize fold equity against 1 pair hands is to go for that check raise. Now, why might they check back an ace? Well, because this board is static and dry. That's where we do see live players for the most part check back top pair. So they do have some ace X here. Now the board is starting to get wet. Straight draws out there. There's a backdoor flush draw out there. If they did bink 2 pair here on the turn, like a hand like 7-8 or something like that, they're certainly going to start telegraphing their size here, which is why I'm going to check again.
At this point, I'm gonna be checking almost every single hand again, and then I'm gonna check raise quite a bit here.
But look at this, the turn goes check, check. Now going to the river when the river's an ace. At this point, our opponent is super capped. We're just trying to get small pairs to fold. We just want hands like pocket 4s, pocket 3s, pocket deuces, maybe a 5x type hand here to fold.
I'm gonna be choosing a big size here if I think you have strong hands, if I have a strong hand, and I'm gonna be choosing a small size here if I have a strong hand, if I think you have weak hands. That's my strategy. So I'm gonna go, keep it reasonable. I'm gonna go 110.
We get the fold. Cutoff actually flashes king 10. So cutoff did have the best hand, and so far, so good. Next one, we see EP limp, hijack make it 20. Now the cutoff is going to 3-bet to 55. We look down at ace queen of hearts here, and you hear me start talking through my decision, telling them what I'm gonna do.
I don't have any cold calls here. I either 4-bet or I fold.
I was gonna ask if that was everything on the button. I got you.
Yeah. 'Cause I mean, I'm not doing this with a lot of hands, just. We're gonna make it 120.
Surprisingly, the hijack, the original opener, is going to call. Now the cutoff is going to call. So we're 3 ways now here in position. Flop comes 10-5-3 with a couple of hearts. And now surprisingly, the hijack donks for $50 here, and the cutoff gets out of the way, and you hear me start talking through it.
I think when you choose this size, I think you have mostly hands that are trying to find out where they're at or set a cheap price. So I'm gonna raise a small size with both my value and my bluffs here. They're going to diverge on the turn, but both my good hands and my bluffs are going to raise for a small size here. So I'd like you to call one time. So let's make it 150. Wow, a quick call.
If we faced a donk in a heads-up single-raise pot, I would just be floating with my entire range here, because when someone donks in a heads-up single-raise pot for a small size, generally it's just going to be full of shit. So our value wants to call, our bluffs want to call, because we want them to put in another bet on the turn when we have value, right, with their bullshit, and we want them to put in another bet on the turn when we have air, because then we can just raise and take it away. But this is not a single-raise pot. This is a 4-bet pot, and we faced a donk. Now, the donk is very, very small, but it's going to be a much different range that's donking in a 4-bet pot, even for a small size, than the range that's donking in a heads-up single-raise pot, right? Or even a multi-way single-raise pot. What I think about this size, I think it's going to be hands like pocket 8s, pocket 9s, something like that, trying to find out where they're at. So heads-up single-raise pot would just be doing a lot of floating here to keep in all their bullshit, but I think we know exactly what this player has quite a bit of the time. So we're going to start putting in a raise now, planning to put in all the money on the turn. We're going to get called. We go to a turn, which is a 10 pairing the board, and now the hijack comes out and donks again for $50. At this point, I think this is a 10 never. I think my suspicion on the flop is confirmed. It's just going to be hands like pocket 9s, pocket 8s, something like that a majority of the time. But we've got 2 overs and the nut flush draw here. I think we've just got a lot of outs. So even if we think we don't have a ton of fold equity here, we just got a ton of equity in our hands. So even if we have a smidge of fold equity here, I think this is going to be good.
I still think you have mostly not great hands here. I don't think you have a 10. I think you could have hands like jacks or 9s quite a bit. So I'm only going to be raising here with value and very strong hands. Very strong hands and very, very big draws, because I think you're probably not going to be folding all that often. So I'm going to be weighted here towards value quite a bit, all in.
Thinks is going to be good. I just put all the money in, and we are going to get the fold, and we get this one through. Next one, under the gun, is going to limp. We're going to bump it up to 40 with JJ Reddix.
I'm ISO raising very tight range here when you limp from under the gun. Very, very tight.
King 10-5, going to deviate here on the flop and actually check back, not betting my range.
Since you don't have much money behind, I'm going to deviate here. I'm not going to be betting all my hands on the flop. I'm going to have some bets and some checks. I'm mostly just going to be betting here with my very, very strong hands, but I may check back some showdown value, air, and bluffs as well, so I'm going to check back.
If we were 100, 150, 200 big blinds here, we'd just be c-betting my entire range, heads up single raise pot in position. But when the under the gun player starts his handoff so shallow, just going to check back with my showdown value here. If we get a clean turn, can go for 2 streets. We don't get a clean turn. Turn is a queen. We're open-ended at this point. I think we could still have the best hand some of the time. And you even hear me say here,
I think at this point, if I had a good hand, I would start betting, but I'm going to check.
River and 8. I think this is too thin to go for value. I talk it out a little bit.
I think I have the best hand, but I'm not sure I can get value here, so I'm actually going to check back and just expect to win quite a bit. You win? Oh, what a... Wow! Wow. Okay, you win.
Under the gun actually tables pocket 8s for a rivered set, and we're gonna lose a very small pot. Next one, we open Jack 10 of hearts in the low jack.
Gonna be opening a little bit wider than equilibrium here, just because I think I have a skill edge post flop.
Button and small blind are going to call 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 10 8, and you hear me kind of think through my reasoning out loud here.
I think in this spot at this stack depth, with the button stack here being 600, I think I may just bet my like thick value hands, but I'm gonna check here with my top of range, can play for stacks, and all my bluffs and showdown value as well.
Generally right multi-way here with one player in position, one player out of position. Don't expect this flop to get stabbed a whole lot. So probably just gonna be betting my good hands myself, but this hand kind of in between, so we're gonna check. It's going to check through. Turn now a deuce of spades. At this point when the small blind checks.
At this point I'm gonna come out and start betting with both my bluffs and my value. Would only be checking my showdown value here. I think there's gonna be a lot of inelastic hands that are call one bet and then fold to a river bet. So I'm gonna choose a rather big size here.
I think both of these players are going to be relatively capped. Sure, the button could still have King X some of the time here, but think on this turn particularly, both of these players could be quite inelastic with hands like Jack 9, Queen Jack, spade draws. I think there's a lot of hands that are gonna call one bet here, so we're actually going to size up. Unfortunately for us, both the button and the small blind are going to fold. All right, next hand here, we look down at the second best hand in all of poker, pocket aces. We make it $25 hairs here, and now music to our ears. The low jack going to bump it up to 110. I start walking through my decision-making process here.
All right, I'm gonna make it 275.
25.
Yeah.
I think it's 6 total.
You make it how much?
6 total.
All right, well, now you've committed your stack at this point.
Milking it, so you don't fold.
Yeah, so you've committed your stack, so I would never be shoving here with any hand except aces, so I'm all in.
When a player puts in 60% of their stack, they just obviously love their hand. I feel like this is going to be kings or also aces. You know, I literally tell him I would never be shoving here with any hand except aces. I think I would probably consider folding kings because I do believe when players have queens here or a hand like ace king suited, they don't put in 60% of their stack. They either call or they jam quite a bit. So we're going to put in the money. Low jack calls, and surprisingly, low jack actually has pocket queens. We flop top set. Look at that, looking pretty good for us. Turn now a jack of clubs. The low jack doesn't have a club, or we don't have a club, so they're gonna need a king and only a king. And the river is, would you look at that? It's a king. And you hear Gazzy B cheering for the villain in the background.
Yes! Let's go! That was meant to be.
Oh my God.
Thought it was interesting though. We obviously got the money in really good here. Just told them exactly what I was doing pre-flop, and didn't matter. Didn't move the needle.
I'm gonna be raising all my strong hands here.
Next one, we've got ace 7 offsuit on the button. We see a couple limps, just trying to play some hands here. Too weak to ISO, but we're gonna overlimp. Big blind's gonna check. We're going 4 ways to a flop. Queen 5-4. Nothing going on for us. Just gonna be betting good hands, good draws here. So we're gonna check it back.
Just going to be betting my best hands and best draws. That's it.
Turn is an ace. Checks over to me. I think I've got a decision here, and I kind of start talking through my thoughts in game out loud.
At this point, I don't think anybody has an ace. So I want to choose a size with both my bluffs and value that you guys are going to call one time. But I have showdown value, so I'm actually going to check.
Ultimately, decide this is a little bit too thin. We're going to go for value on the river, though, and check it back. River now a deuce. Does bring a one-liner to a straight. But when the big blind and the low jack check, I think we're going to have the best hand a good portion of the time, especially when the hijack chooses a small size. Hijack goes 15 here. So we're going to put in the call with top pair. Now the low jack is going to check raise to $50. Hijack gets out of the way, and you hear me start going through my thought process.
Well, this is a 3 and literally never not any hand except a 3, so I'm gonna fold this one.
And would you look at that? The low jack actually shows a 3 here. What do you know?
You know the best part about PLO?
Oh, the worst part about it, me playing it. It's the best.
Next one, we open JJ Reddick's 25. Cutoff and button are going to call 10-6 deuce. I think with 2 players in position on a dynamic board, this is going to be overstabbed, so I'm just checking my range.
Some out of position at 2 players. I think this flop is likely to get stabbed. I'm just checking everything here. My good hands, my bad hands, everything in between.
Cutoff goes 50, and now the button calls. I think on this board, obviously just not really going to be any 2 pair. We're only going to be behind sets here. I think hands like 10x are going to be quite inelastic here. So I decided to actually put in a check raise right here, right now, and you hear me walking through my thought process out loud.
The first player who stabbed here only has about 200. I'm gonna be very, very tight if I'm check raising here. I'm also gonna continue as a call very tight here. I'm gonna proceed cautiously. I don't think I have a lot of fold equity here, so I'm only gonna check raise my very good hands. So I'm gonna go 250.
So So I decided to put in a check raise right here, right now. Not really concerned about sets here. The cutoff is very, very shallow to start this hand. So we're just quite comfortable getting in the money with 10x. If I was bluffing here, I would just never be check raising as a bluff here, expecting the cutoff to have a pretty strong range here. Unfortunately for us, cutoff and the button are going to fold, and we take down a small pot. All right, next one here, we put the $10 straddle on. Button is a small blind limp, so we're going to check here with 10-9. Flop comes king 9 deuce, and with middle pair, not much to do here, but check. You hear me kind of walk through my thoughts.
Just gonna be betting my very, very good hands here, multi-way.
Button goes 25. Obviously, if the big blind just came out and bet 25, would just be folding if the player first to act. But I think players do kind of overstab, especially when they are last to act here, when everybody checks to them. Turn now a 10, giving us 2 pair. I think a case could be made coming out and donking against a player that's more passive. Also, don't hate going for the check here and just trying to check raise jam. Coming out and just leading here is better when we're against a player who is going to be shallow, is going to be more on the passive side. We can just go bet and stack their king X here. River now an ace, and at this point you hear me start walking through my thought process.
I think you're gonna understab the river if I check to you. I know you're a little more on the passive side, so if you do have an ace, I think you may check back. I'd like to be check raising with both my bluffs and my value if I do check, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So I'm just gonna have to come out and bet here. I think an ace is gonna be pretty inelastic. So I'm gonna have to choose a very large size if I want you to fold. Probably choose a medium size if I wanna get you to call.
I think a weak king is probably just folding on this run out if we go really big. So I guess our 2 options here are to kind of go smaller, maybe $50, $60, something like that, to target a weak king here, or just to size up and target a hand like ace X of spades that binked top pair on the river. I decide to go with the latter. So I go 100, button is gonna put in the call, we show, and of course we are good, scooping a nice little pot. All right, next one here, we're playing 4-handed, so actually just gonna play in the blinds. Small blind is going to check. I'm just raising any 2 cards when a recreational player checks and completes in the small blind. Just raising any 2 from the big blind here, and you hear me say it.
When you check, I'm just gonna be raising every hand. I'm gonna raise every single hand I have. I'm gonna make it 30.
10-7-3, just c-betting my range here. You hear me talk about it?
I'm gonna just bet every single hand I have, good ones, bad ones, small size.
I go 30, small blind puts in the call. Turn now a 9. At this point, when the small blind checks it over, I start walking through my thought process.
At this point on the turn, I'm only gonna be betting my good hands and my bluffs. I think you're kind of capped here, but you may be inelastic. So I'm gonna choose a really big size with both my value and my bluffs here.
So I go 110 here. I think if I could take this back, I may go just slightly bigger to set up a more favorable SPR for the river, making sure that SPR is less than 1 getting to the river. But I do think the big size is good here. Small blind going to put in the call. River now a 4 of hearts, and when the small blind checks, walking through my thought process again.
I'm completely splitting my bluffs and my value sizes here. With bluffs, I'm gonna do one thing. With value, I'm gonna do another. They're never gonna be the same size. I'm not gonna tell you which, but I'm only gonna have bluffs or value when I do this. I'm not gonna have anything in between. So I am going to go all in.
A little bit cluttered here, a little bit convoluted because I'm trying not to give away the strength of my hand. This player's never folding a 10 in a wide versus wide configuration. Only got about 345 behind. If I was bluffing here, I may just go very, very small to try to fold out some hands like 7-8 or 6-7, 4-5 of spades or something like that. So because we do have value here, I think obviously the play here is to jam. Small blind snaps, and we're actually gonna lose to 6-5 of spades, a rivered straight here. So flop to gutter, turned, backdoor flush draw. But I think the thought process is sound here. Again, if I could change one thing, we'd just go slightly bigger on this turn. All right, this next one bamboozled me a little bit. I like that word, bamboozled. All right, so we open to 20 in the hijack with queen jack.
Opening a little bit smaller size than I normally would, just because there's a lot of short stacks behind me.
Big blind's gonna call, we flop an open ender, checks over to me. You hear me walking through my thought process here.
Just betting all my hands for a small size, good hands, bad hands, everything in between.
Of course, we're just range betting. The big blind is gonna call. I mean, we tell them we're range betting. They're still never check raising us. It just doesn't matter. I hear the chorus in the Reddit threads just saying stuff.
Well, they're gonna exploit you. They're gonna exploit the crap out of you if you just range bet. They'll just check raise you all the time. If your bluffs and value aren't balanced, they're gonna know exactly what to do.
We bank the nuts here on the turn, king of spades. Big blind checks it over. Hear me walking through my thought process here.
On this turn, I'm gonna bet probably with my bluffs and value for a large size here. I think you have a lot of hands that are going to be inelastic on this turn. Bluffs and value are both going to go large. I'm gonna go 125.
We're gonna overbet. We go 125. Big blind gonna put in the call. River is a 4. Now the big blind comes out and donks for 100. This befuddled me a little bit, and you hear me kind of walking through my thoughts in real time.
I think you have a hand you like, but I don't think you choose this size with a boat. I'm not sure how much 4x you have either. I think this is gonna be a king, quite a bit. Maybe a hand like king jack, king queen, or it's going to be a misdraw. I think if I could get you to fold a king here, I'd be going all in with my bluffs. And I think if you're gonna call a king, I'd be going all in with my value. Question here is if I'm going to target a king or 4x. I think you got a lot more king x than you have 4x of spades. $275.
So in game, I thought this was going to be king x quite a bit. I thought it could be 4x of spades sometimes, but I think 4x of spades just chooses a bigger size here most of the time. So I just decided to target hands like king x. We're gonna target king jack, king queen. I don't want to go huge here. I think if I was trying to get king x to fold, I would just go huge and think we get the fold all of the time. So I choose a size of 275. Big blind actually gonna put in a relatively quick call, and the big blind shows 10-9 for actually a counterfeit 2 pair here. Of course, we are good and we win a nice little pot. Next one here, we open ace 5 of spades in the hijack.
Oh my God, I have to raise this hand. Punish me. Punish me.
No, I can't punish you this time.
Okay.
I can only hit my flop.
Only the big blind calls, and we flop a ace high flush draw here, and big blind checks it over. We're just gonna see bet range. You hear me talking through.
All right, I'm just gonna be betting every single hand I have here. Good hands, bad hands, everything in between, small size.
Turn in 8, so we actually do have a combo draw here, and when the big blind checks it over, you hear me kind of walk through my thought process in real time.
I do think you have some traps here on a paired board. I think I'd probably like to deviate here and go small with both my bluffs and value. My value, so you can raise when you do have trips and put in more money for me. And my bluffs, I want to go small just to make sure 7x sticks around so I can get that hand to fold on the river. That make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. 30.
So I decided to go small here. I think this is decent. Even if the big blind is trapping here and they check raise, you know, we're gonna have enough stack depth behind to be able to call that check raise, and really nice just getting them to the river with a wide weak cap range. If the big blind does just check call here, going to be a lot of 7x, going to be a lot of hands like pocket 6s. We can just carry them to the river with a weak range. But what happens is the big blind ends up check raising to an egregious size. He makes it 210 here. So he goes for the old 7x check raise on this turn. And now we're in a bit of a pickle, and you hear me walking through what I'm thinking.
Obviously massively under bluffing for this, the turn check raise. This is just gonna be value quite a bit. Gonna be straights and trips. Be very surprised if it was anything besides that. With value here, I'd just only be jamming. So I'm gonna fold a pretty good hand here.
Actually do end up folding to this size, just not enough money behind here. Not even sure our combo draw is good all the time. I mean, I think the big blind could just have a hand like 5-6 here some of the time. Could have a hand like 4x, and if we do make our flush on the river, could just boat him up some of the time. So with not much money behind, just going to make a kind of trivial fold here. Kind of hurts that we face this check raise size, because if we did get check raise, was expecting to face a size like 100, 120, even 140, something like that. But we do fold, and the big blind shows ace 4 for trips, of course. The next time you see someone check raise the turn as a bluff is going to be the next time you hear me espousing the merits of multi-table tournaments and talking about how much I love them. Next one here, we put the straddle on. EP limps, low jack makes it 25. Cutoff calls, big blind calls over to us in the straddle. I do think although low jack chose a small size, early position open over a limp is still going to be a relatively strong range. So I don't want to squeeze here unless I have a very, very good hand. This hand not quite good enough. King, queen suited, probably fall in there. Maybe hands like pocket 10s plus here, pocket 9s plus, but this hand just not quite good enough. So I'm going to call here. We're going to go 5 ways. King, jack, 10s. We flop top pair and an open ender. Now the big blind is just going to come out in donk for 65 into 14 people. When players donk multi-way, particularly on a 3 Broadway board, particularly for a size greater than half pot, is going to be a very, very strong range. This is much different than if a player just donks heads up in a single raise pot, right? This is donking into 4 other players who are uncapped on a king high, very connected board that's supposed to smash the pre-flop raiser. They're obviously saying, I'm not scared of ace king, right? We're just going to make a very trivial fold here. Only the low jack is going to call, going to a turn which is a 5 of diamonds, bringing the front door flush. Now the big blind going to double barrel for 120. You see the low jack actually fold ace king face up here. Next one here folds to us on the button, and you hear me say once again,
just opening any 2 cards. I haven't looked.
Oh, I wouldn't. Should have said that before. Then I would have maybe.
I said I'm opening any 2 cards.
here's the thing, guys. If you're tired of listening to the choir of players who couldn't beat 5 cent, 10 cent online, saying stuff like,
well, you need to be balanced in this spot.
Or,
you need to play an equilibrium strategy until you see some showdowns from your opponents, or they could start exploiting you.
Or,
you can't take that line. That's not solver approved.
if you're tired of all the bullshit and you just want to win, you actually want to crush the players that you are playing against, our 5-day base camp is for you. It is the aloe vera to the sunburn of GTO nerds who just have no idea how solvers actually work. You're gonna get 5 days of intensive interactive coaching where we're gonna put your feet to the fire and help you build your thought process so you can start crushing the players you're actually playing against. On top of that, we're gonna give you 2 full months of support where you're gonna get twice weekly live coaching sessions. We're gonna put you in study groups with your peers. You can post hand histories where you're confused, post up your thought process. You're gonna get a response from myself, Gethen, our team of coaches in 24 to 48 hours, giving you feedback on the exact hands you were playing. 5 days of intensive live coaching, 2 months of support. If this at all sounds appealing, if you are ready to start winning and stop listening to the peanut gallery, our 5-day base camp is for you. You see here after me just opening 92 cards, the big blind actually going to show 10-3 offsuit and fold. If it was me and I knew the button was opening 92, I'd probably just be 3-betting. I'd probably just be 3-betting 92. But hey, neither here nor there. All right, next one, under the gun limps. We make it 35 with ace queen. Cutoff calls, and the under the gun limper is going to fold 8-7-4.
Mostly going to be not betting here. I'm going to be checking pretty much everything except thick value, which I may just go bet with, but I'd also check with my top of range as well, so I'm just going to check.
We check, it checks through. Turn now a 3, going to talk through my thought process again.
I think when you're check back, you're going to be capped on a dynamic board, so I would mostly just come out if I had a bluff here and start betting large. If I can play for stacks, I may check again and go for a check raise. I believe my showdown value wants to check. I can play for stacks, may just go bet. May go for a check raise. I'm not actually sure, but I'm gonna check.
I'm gonna check one more time, and it checks through. River now 4, pairing the board, and once again going to elucidate my thought process out loud, literally tell this player exactly what I'm doing.
I think I'm gonna have the best hand here a good percentage of the time. No reason to turn this hand into a bluff. I'm going to check and evaluate.
One more time, we're gonna check. Cutoff is going to check back, and we show ace queen. Cutoff shows ace jack, and we are good. You hear him say, that's what I had you on. They just don't do anything about it. You could tell them. You just tell them your exact 2 cards. It doesn't matter. They're not going to punish you for it. All right, next one here. Under the gun makes it 15. Walking through my thought process here.
I'm gonna be 3-betting here, rather wide range. Just try to isolate, get the pot heads up in position.
So we're gonna bump it up, make it 50, just trying to isolate, get it heads up, play a pot in position against a recreational player. Low jack actually gonna move all in for $30 effective. That's gonna bring along the under the gun player. So we're 3 ways, 1 player all in. King 8-5, so we flop bottom pair here in a 3-bet pot. So there already is a side pot here, so we don't have a dry side pot. So when the under the gun player checks it over, gonna walk through my thought process.
Side pot is small. Not a whole lot of incentive to bet, but maybe could fold you off some equity here. Would want to start building a pot with my thick value, so probably just going to be choosing a small size a lot here. I'm going to go 30.
I go 30, under the gun calls, turn out a king pairing the board. He checks once again and walking through what I'm thinking here on the turn.
Interesting turn. I think now at this point, I'm really only going to be betting my trips plus for value and then my big draws. My big draws don't, yeah, because side pot's now bigger than the main pot. So my showdown value wants to check here, so I'm going to check.
Going to check here on the turn with our showdown value. River now a 6. When this player checks it over, I'm going to walk through my thought process one more time.
I think you could still have some trips when you check the river when the flush comes in. So I think you are uncapped. I guess I do have a smidge of showdown value here against like ace highs and stuff like that, so I'm just gonna check.
I think we just got showdown value, so I check it back, and look at this, we are right. The under the gun player has 10-9 offsuit, so just floated the flop with nothing, 10 high. The low jack has ace 10, so we're gonna win here with kings and sixes. $10 straddle is on EP limps. We're gonna make it 30 here with 6-5 of hearts. You hear me talk through it.
I'd like to play this hand, but I'm gonna ISO raise very small because the under the gun limper has a short stack.
30.
Straddle gonna go 150, and the EP limper going to fold, and being only 60 big blinds effective. You hear me kind of walk through exactly what I'm thinking here.
55, 60 big blinds effective. I can't call with this hand, massively under bluffing, closing the action. He chose a smaller size before when he had ace-5 suited, so this is just gonna be very, very strong hands. Gonna be a very strong hand. Gonna be a very strong hand. Yeah, it's a good hand.
We fold. Straddle shows ace king here. Actually surprised even this hand is in there. Just expected this to be jacks plus or ace king suited maybe. So even surprised that ace king off is in there, but nevertheless going to be a massively under bluff spot.
Where do you work? What do you do?
Work in finance.
This is why I'm gonna buy an office.
To buy an office?
Yeah, because I don't want our team members, people who work for us, going to the casino and playing poker and saying that they're working.
Yeah. Only once a week. I'm in the office 4 days a week.
Do you work hard those other 4 days or not too much? You're not on camera, so no one's gonna know it's you. You can be honest.
No, I understand. No, I do.
All right, next one here. We're in the $10 straddle. Hijack makes it 20, small blind and big blind call, and we look down at ace queen in the straddle.
I'm gonna be squeezing linear here. Good, better, best. How many you got? Like, yeah. So let's go 130.
Definitely gonna be good enough to squeeze. When we squeeze, once there is an open and multiple calls, we wanna be going good, better, best. So this just means hands like maybe pocket 8s, pocket 9s plus, queen jack suited plus, all of our suited broadways, ace 10, ace jack suited plus, ace queen off, ace king off, just our good hands in the upper left hand portion of that hand balloon chart. So we're gonna squeeze. Hijack, the original opener, is gonna fold, and now the small blind is actually going to go all in for 160 effective. Obviously, we are going to call it off. And the small blind tables pocket 3s. You hear me just yelling for a queen.
I just need a queen. Just queen, no 3. Just a queen, please.
No queen, please. 3.
I need a queen.
3.
You win.
Flop jack 8 deuce, turn to 6, river of 4, so we do not improve and we lose a small one to pocket 3. All right, next one, not even in this hand, but I thought the table talk was interesting. Under the gun limps, folds to the small blind who makes it 25, and now the big blind calls, and the under the gun limper is going to limp raise to 110. Now the small blind going to put in the 4 bet, and under the gun jams for just a little bit more. You hear me already talking to the small blind.
It's not a good feeling, is it? It's not a good feeling.
No. I have a very good hand.
I know.
It's still probably not good.
You got kings?
No good.
Nah, I don't think it's good.
I see he's got kings. I tell him it's no good. But look at this. The small blind flaps a king, gets bailed out, and under the gun flashes the pocket aces.
Can I ask you something? Who do you think has the cutest belly button at the table?
Thank you.
Cutest belly button?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't know.
You.
Like if you had to pick. And you couldn't pick the dealer. You had to pick one. Okay, so like if you got it right, and if you had like the consensus of whatever the casino is, you get $1 million. And you had to pick.
Probably the guy asking.
Me?
Yes.
Oh.
Next one here, we straddle. Cutoff makes it 30. Small blind calls, and we're gonna complete in the straddle with queen 10. A little bit light, but we're trying to play some hands here. 7-7-4. This one checks through. Now the turn is a jack of spades, bringing in the front door flush, and when the small blind checks, I start talking.
I think pre-flop razor, I think you're gonna be capped here when you check back on the flop. Probably just gonna bet most of your flush draws, even 3 ways. I think the small blind, she could occasionally still have a flush, but I'm gonna go small here with both my bluffs and my value, try to get a flush to raise. Yep, so I'm gonna go $40.
Gonna go 40 here, trying to get the flushes and the traps from the small blind to raise. I know that the player in position, the pre-flop raiser, just isn't really gonna have many flushes or traps here when they check last to act. Small blind is gonna call, going to a river, which is a 5, and when the small blind checks it over, start walking through what sounds like a pretty convoluted thought process here.
I think you're capped, but if you are inelastic, I'm going to go big with value and small with bluffs, but I think if you're elastic, I'm gonna do the opposite. So I'm not gonna tell you what I think, but I'm not gonna choose the same size with my bluffs and my value here, for sure. 50.
The rivers are tough, guys, because I can't just say, yeah, I'm going to bet small with bluffs and big with value here because I think you're going to call too much. So I was trying to kind of phrase this in a way where I was telling them, I was being honest about my strategy, but not making it obvious what I had. But now I'm thinking here I could probably just be even more direct and be like, yeah, I think you're going to be calling too much on this river, so I'm going small with my bluffs and big with my value. I think that even may not even matter. I don't know. We go 50, just trying to fold out the brick draws, and the small blind folds and says they missed their flush. Next hand here, button limps. We're gonna bump it up to 40 in the small blind with ace queen. Hear me talking.
Button limp, I'm just gonna be ISOing a pretty wide range here.
Now the big blind gonna go 120, and this player actually a solid player, not playing for a living, but first on the list to play 5-10, definitely a for-profit winning player. Kind of wondering here if he's picking up on the fact that I'm ISOing wide from the small blind because I literally said it out loud. I'm kind of trying to elucidate my strategy out loud here after getting 3-bet.
Out of position at this depth, probably going to be going, I'm not sure if I go linear or polar here at this depth. I think I'd actually go polar because it's almost like we're starting 100 bigs effective. Probably a polar 4-bet strategy here.
You don't give a shit.
I do.
I think because my ISO size is so big and the 3-bet size is so big, we're basically playing like 100 big blind poker. And 100 big blinds from out of position, do think I would choose a polar 4-bet strategy. Polar just means you're going to 4-bet your very, very best hands and your very, very worst hands that are right on the bottom of your continue range. So because this is blind versus blind a little bit wider, I think my 4-bet bluffs here, maybe a pip or 2 down, maybe hands like ace jack off, ace 10 off, ace 4 suited. And then obviously my 4 bets for value, aces, kings, ace, king suited, maybe queens is in there. Now getting into the weeds here, normally from out of position, I'm playing a linear 4-bet strategy because we're a little bit deeper because the sizes are a little bit smaller. And when we're deeper, I just want to 4-bet linear, good, better, best, hands like king, queen suited, ace, jack suited, pocket 10s, pocket jacks, pocket queen, etc. All my good hands, no bluffs from out of position because in general, we want to go linear when our opponents are going to do too much calling. But starting at this SPR with these sizes, I don't think that's going to be the case because our 4-bet's going to be so big. So when we're 100 big blinds, I'm playing a polar 4-bet strategy. At 200 big blinds, 300 big blinds, playing a linear 4-bet strategy from out of position. So that's kind of the nuance here if you want to kind of get in the weeds with me for a minute. Get in the weeds with Marc here. 9-6-5 here. We're gonna check, and now the button checks it back. Interestingly, turn is a 3. You hear me start talking through my thought process here.
There's a chance you could check back some strong hands on this flop. You are obviously capped to like 1 pair though. I think both my bluffs and my value are going to check here. And then probably going to be putting in a check raise at a pretty high frequency with both my strong value and kind of my draws at this point.
I do think the button can still have hands like aces and kings here at a decent frequency. This player is aware. I do think he may be protecting his check back range, maybe a little bit squeamish to play a huge 3-bet pot for all the money with just one pair against me. So I do think aces and kings are in there, but I do think those hands will start betting turn at a decent frequency. But now big blind gonna check back again. River a 5 pairing the board. Now at this point, I don't think big blind has aces and kings at all that high a frequency. So you hear me start walking through my thought process.
At this point, I think the best hand you could have is maybe a hand like pocket 8s, although I think that hand would probably just bet the turn at a high frequency, so probably gonna be a lot of ace king. My river size with bluffs and value is going to depend upon how elastic I think ace king is. My bluffs and my value are definitely going to be choosing definitely different sizes here. 110. I feel like you're in a pickle.
Now at this point, I'm just trying to choose the size to get specifically ace king to fold. I think this player is going to have ace king quite a lot here. We would hate for this to go check and lose to ace king. So just going 110 here, choosing an efficient size to get that hand to fold. No real reason to go absolutely huge here. I think 110 will get the job done. And now the big blind makes it 350, and you hear me start walking through my thought process.
Okay, so the one hand I forgot about that makes a lot of sense is ace 5. I think this is just literally going to be ace 5 of clubs, ace 5 of spades. I think that makes a shitload of sense. I don't know why you would ever do this with ace king. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know how this could be a bluff. If you were going to bluff, you would start bluffing earlier in the hand. You're not just going to wake up with ace king on the river and turn it into a bluff. And I don't know, I can't even beat ace king. I don't know what worse hand you have that would ever do this. I think it's gonna be ace 5 all the time.
I do think ace 5 suited makes a whole lot of sense here on this river. This is just, it's never a bluff in a million years. We're going to fold, and the big blind is kind enough to show pocket aces. So actually check back on the flop and then check back on the turn. Not surprised with the flop check back, a little bit surprised with the turn check back. Just playing a little bit fearful here on the turn, just kind of scared to play for all the money with aces. Even when you tell the good players your strategy, I guess they're still not going to exploit you. All right, next one here, straddle's on. We bump it up to 35 with queen jack. The big blind and straddle are going to call 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 7 4. Checks over to me. You hear me talking.
Multi-way here. I'm only going to be betting my very strong hands and best draws.
So just going to be betting my strong hands, strong draws here. This hand is neither. We check it back. Turns a 10. Big blind checks. Straddle now comes out and bets 50. And once again, walking through my thought process.
I don't think I have a ton of fold equity here, especially at this stack depth. So I'm probably just going to be calling with my bluff catchers and my draws, and I would be raising here if I somehow backed into a very, very strong hand on the turn.
We call, the big blind calls as well. River now a jack. Big blind actually comes out and donks for 60 into 255, so a quarter pot donk. That's gonna get the straddle out of there, and you hear me start talking here.
Not sure I have fold equity. Would consider jamming here if she was slightly deeper and just turning everything into a bluff, but I think I'm gonna have enough showdown value here to have a profitable call against this size, so I call.
So I put in the call, and unfortunately we are shown jack 10 for a rivered 2 pair. Next one, EP goes 20, button calls. We're in there in the big blind with king 8 of hearts. Ace king 3 on the flop, and this one going to check through. King of clubs on the turn, bringing in the front door flush, and you hear me start walking through my thought process here.
Both players here are going to be capped, but they're probably going to be relatively elastic on this turn. So both players here are going to be capped, but I think both of you are going to be relatively elastic on this turn. So I want to go small with both my bluffs and my value. But I think because the pot is so small, I can actually size up just a little bit here.
So we got trips, I go 40, early position, razor folds. Now the button makes it 160.
I know this particular player is capable of making moves, so I think I'm gonna call here much wider than I would call against a typical player. I may even trap some of my very strong hands here because I just think he's gonna be full of shit quite a bit. and I want to give him a chance to empty the clip on the river.
Let me be very, very clear. Against 99.9% of players in a $5 blind game, even in a $10 blind game, I would just be snap mucking here. This line, they check back the flop and then raise the turn. This is just massively under bluffed. This particular player, he is more than capable of bluffing, right? He likes to be the type of guy to show the big bluff, like, look, I got you on the vlog, right? That is this player. I believe a couple things here. Number one, if this guy had a flush draw on the flop, he is on the more aggressive side. I think he would stab at least some portion of the time, maybe half the time if he had a flush draw. Number two, if he had a set or two pair on the flop that is now boated up, those hands would always bet the flop, literally 100% of the time. I think this is a flush or nothing. I think he can be getting out of line here quite a bit, but just caveat, against almost any other player, I would just be snap folding here on this turn. All right, river and offsuit 6, we check it over, and now he goes 500. You hear me start walking through my thought process. I'm very pained on this river.
Big bet. Very big bet.
From your videos, it's gotta be polarized.
This is very polarized. See, I think you would always, like, this is never a boat. I think you would just always bet on the flop if you had a hand like threes. Most of your flush draws would bet on the flop. I guess you could have some flush draws to check back. Man, you put me in a pickle here. This is against 99% of players, I just snap fold the turn.
Make the vlog again.
Thank you. This is the best hand of the day so far. Can I see one? I'll show you one.
It'll be a dead giveaway if you show one, because it's either one or the
Yeah,
other.
exactly. It's
You can.
know what? Will you pay
That's up
for
to
it or
you.
no?
It's up to you.
How much?
$20.
Yeah, $20 is fine. Oh my God. This didn't help me at all. I just gave you a free $20. So I do think if you had like queen 10 of clubs, he would just always bet on the flop. Queen jack of clubs would always bet on the flop. He's got a combo draw. So
Yes.
it feels slightly full of shit to me, but I see.
Thank you.
Finally, I call. We're showing the bad news. He has queen 5 of clubs for a flush, of course. And here's the lesson, guys. Here's the lesson I had to learn once again the hard way. Even the players who get out of line, right? They don't find the overbet bluff. When they put in a bet that is significantly larger than the pot, even the one player in your game who is capable, they're not bluffing. They're just not bluffing. And like I am a chronic overfolder and talk myself into this one because this guy he is special, he is capable. But even this player, even the wild guy, even the guy who is capable, they are just not bluffing enough. Fold all your bluff catchers. Next one, we straddle. The big blind is going to complete, and you hear me say it here.
I'm gonna be. What did you buy in for? 5? I'm gonna be raising literally every single hand I have here.
So just raising any 2 cards. Big blind is gonna call 10, 10, 5. He checks it over, and once again,
I'm gonna bet all my hands, my very strong hands, my bluffs, showdown value, all for a small size here.
so he knows I'm raising any 2. He knows I'm c-betting my range. Look at this. He's just going to check fold on the flop. They're really adjusting, guys. They're really adjusting good. Don't play exploit-based poker. You should always be playing defense. They're gonna exploit you so damn hard. Next one here, the $10 straddle is on EP limps, small blind limps. I guess we're in there, I guess, with 9-6 offsuit. Gonna go 4 ways in a limped pot. King 5-5 here on the flop is going to check through. Turn and queen of spades when the small blind check's gonna check one more time here. Now the straddle, the for-profit player makes it 20. EP gets out of the way and the small blind is going to call. And you hear me start walking through my thought process here.
Both these players are relatively capped. I'm going to be check raising quite a bit here, but I want to use the sides with both my bluffs and value that they're going to call on the turn, and then we can split on the river. So I just had a thought, and I'm gonna talk about it after this hand.
So my thought here, why I actually decided not to check raise. I thought this was initially a very, very good spot to check raise. 2 thoughts actually came to my mind. Number 1, the straddle is the same player who checked back the aces twice. Do think this player can protect their check range. I do think this player could have some flushes here. The small blind here is the really concerning part. The small blind is a player who is super, super passive, and I just think the small blind could have trips here, could have flushes here quite a bit, would not fast play those all the time. So normally a spot where I think both players are going to be capped, where I can just check raise any 2 here, just get them to call on the turn and fold on the river, but I kind of reconsidered. So the river here we see is a 10, small blind check, straddle goes 20 again, and we see the straddle show a king for top pair, just going for thin value. And look at this, small blind actually shows 6-5 for flopped trips played super passively, just patting myself on the back for not being my usual spewy self in this hand. Next one, we got king 7 of diamonds on the button, and you hear me talking.
I'm gonna be opening a standard button range here, would open wider, but I do believe the small blind's gonna be 3-betting it close to an appropriate frequency.
We go 20, small blind makes it 90, and once again, let's tell him our strategy.
So I think he's got a probably close to an appropriate 3-bet frequency. Like I said in the small blind, I'm gonna be playing a polarized 4-bet strategy here. I wanna call a lot. Like a lot of my middling hands are just gonna wanna call here quite a bit. I'm gonna have some 4-bet bluffs here, not a lot. My 4-bet value range is going to be just very, very good hands, which could be a little bit wider in this configuration, but it's gonna be polar. I have a hand that's a very easy decision, so I'm going to make that decision. 200.
We're gonna 4-bet to 200 here. In position, I am 4-betting a polarized strategy against aware players, against decent players. Generally, the only spot I'm going polar at these stakes is in position, 4-bet range against a solid aware player. Other spots I may consider is blind versus blind, big blind versus small blind, a polarized 3-bet range if you are against an aware player and you're playing in the blinds in a time game. It's very, very rare where we're gonna use this. Maybe in the big blind versus a button open, but generally even going linear there against good players, because they're probably just going to call too much in position. So very rare I'm going to use this polar strategy. King 10-6 checks over to me. You hear me talking.
Not sure if my opponent has a 5-bet range in this spot. I would guess out of position that if I had to put money on it, I would say probably. I think here on this board, can't really make a mistake by going very, very small with my entire range.
Yeah.
5 on the turn, and when it checks to me, I think I got some showdown value here. I'll walk through my thoughts.
I'm going to be quite polarized on this turn, I think, when I continue double barreling. I think I'm going to have a pretty high frequency check here, considering I'm range betting the flop in the widest 4-bet configuration. So quite a bit of checking on this turn, and I will check.
River now a queen, and my plan was actually to go for value on the river, but I don't love this card particularly because I think now jacks are going to have a harder time calling, 10x is going to have a harder time calling, and of course queens get there. So you hear me talking?
Too thin to go for value. Don't really love this river. I think I have the best hand a decent percentage of the time.
I just checked this back, and we are actually good against ace queen.
What's your favorite type of lawnmower?
John Deere?
You like John Deere? I worked for them for like 9 years.
All right, next one. We're in the straddle. Small blind limps. You hear me walking through my thought process.
Gonna be not raising my entire range like if the big blind limped, but I think I can go quite linear here and pretty wide. Just gonna be a pretty wide range here. So I'm gonna go 50.
We bump it to 50. The small blind is going to call. Queen, jack, jack. Once again, just telling them we're range betting.
Betting all my hands here for a small size. Good hands, bad hands, everything in between.
We go small, and what do you know? The small blind folds. Next one here, under the gun goes 20. We're going to call on the small line with ace 9 of hearts. Big blind comes along as well. Jack 3 deuce. Really nothing going on for us here. Just going to check. It checks through. Turn in 8. Walking through my thought process here on this turn.
Big blind is still uncapped. Gonna be checking here quite a bit. Going for some check raises with bluffs. I may be check raising more as a bluff if the pre-flop razor stabs, but if the big blind stabs, it's gonna be very value heavy.
River now a jack pairing the board, and once again going to elucidate my thoughts out loud.
I think I got some showdown value here, maybe, so I'm gonna check and evaluate.
Under the gun actually going to go 20 here, and you hear me kind of walking through what I'm thinking.
I think this is gonna be under bluffed from an under the gun opener. If you wanted to start bluffing, you'd probably start bluffing on the flop or the turn. So I'm going to fold.
We fold. The big blind is actually going to call, and the under the gun player shows ace king. So not sure if they're just decide to turn ace king to a bluff on the river, and the big blind shows ace 8. I'm surprised the big blind just didn't come out and bet on the river. So this player, generally making the note that this player is playing their value quite passively.
Just opening any two.
Next one here, we open Jack 10 on the button. Small blind and big blind both call. 3 ways to a flop. 10, 7, 4 checks over to us.
Gonna be pretty selective about betting here. 3 ways. Probably, I mean, betting my very good hands and my very good bluffs. Maybe some thin value as well, just because I am in a position. It's a wide versus wide config. Want to choose a small size here where they're gonna call with the weak stuff, raise with the strong stuff. So just under half pot.
We go 25. Both of our little friends are going to call. Turn now a 6, and when they check it over, walking through my thought process here.
Both players are capped and inelastic. I think my bluffs and my value here, I'd want to choose a relatively big size. 8-9 does get there. 7-6 makes 2 pair. I'm probably going to be doing a little bit of checking, quite a bit of checking with my range on this turn, but if I was betting here, both bluffs and value would choose a big size, I do believe.
River a king, and when both players check, I wonder if I can get a little bit disrespectful here, and you hear me say it out loud.
I'd probably just choose a disrespectful size here. I'm not going to say if I'm doing this with value or bluffs, but I think I can get away with this.
If either of these players had a hand like 8-9 or 7-6 or something like that, they would certainly just come out and bet on the river after the turn checked through. So I do think I'm gonna have the best hand here a good percentage of the time. The question is, can I actually squeak out value against a hand like 10-9 or 7-8? I think it's a little bit thin. If your opponents aren't going to check raise you for thin value, and they're not going to check raise you as a bluff, and they're not going to protect their checking range when they check on the river, all of a sudden, like, these small sizes, which are never a thing in equilibrium, become pretty damn good. We go 30, small blind calls, and the small blind actually has ace-10, so we get value owned here, but I think the thought process is decent. Do think we would call it by worse here. High percentage of the time, hands like 7-9, 7-8, 10-8, 10-9, all that type of stuff, I do think is calling.
You smell good. Most people at the poker table don't smell good. You're like a unicorn. You know, you sit down at the poker table, someone smells like armpits.
All right, next one here. This just shows how they let you off the hook. We bump it up from early position to 25 ace king. Big blind calls heads up 10-5-5. He checks it over. You hear me talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet all my hands here for a small size. Range betting.
We go 25, he calls, turn now an 8 of diamonds, bringing the front door flush, and he just comes out and pots it here for, I think, 100 into 100, and you hear me start walking through my thought process.
This is gonna be under bluff. This player is more on the passive side. I think just overfolding here is going to be good.
Saying out loud what I'm doing, I fold, and the big blind actually shows 9-3 of diamonds for a flush here on the turn. All right, next one, we're in the straddle. EP and hijack are going to limp. Button is going to make it 50. We look down at queen 10 of hearts. I think when the button chooses this size over 2 limps, going to be a very strong range here. So normally we'd just be 3-betting against a button open, but this is a button ISO against 2 limps, so a little bit different. Our hand not quite good enough to 3-bet against the button's ISO range. Want to call with a suited Broadway. I mean, too strong to fold. It leaves us with calling here, right? So we are going to call. That is going to bring along the EP and hijack limpers. 4 ways to a flop. Ace, king, queen, and it checks through. Turn an ace of clubs, and you hear me walking through what I'm thinking.
I think only the button is capped. Both the limpers could have strong hands, so I think with thick value would probably just come out and bet. Can play for stacks. May want to go for a check raise because the big blind's deep, but mostly going to want to be checking here.
We check, EP checks, hijack goes 100 when the button folds.
This is the one player left who is uncapped.
So we're gonna fold and live to fight another day.
I'm just raising any 2 cards here.
Next one here, we're opening on the button. That's just what we do. Both the small blind and big blind call 7-3-3 when it checks to us in position, just betting my good hands and good draws as I tell them out loud.
Multi-way, just betting my good hands and my good draws. May go a little thinner because wide versus wide config, but mostly just checking.
Queen on the turn and walking through my thought process again.
Once again, I think I got a smidge of showdown value here, so probably just gonna check.
Jack on the river and just my in-game thought process just out loud so you can hear it.
I think I could be good some marginal percentage of the time, so check.
We check it back, and we're gonna chop this up with the big blind, who also has ace high. All right, guys, so hopefully this little experiment shows next time someone tells you,
well, you know, they're gonna exploit you. If you try to exploit them, they'll exploit you back.
you can just flash them a wry smile and say, Once more, guys, if you're ready to actually start crushing these games and you want to know all the levers to pull to exploit the crap out of everybody you're playing against, our 5-day base camp is for you. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video and it turns you into the biggest boy possible. Thank you and have a gentle day.